Good evening, everybody. It's Mario with Motorcycle Knuckle Busters, and we're back at it again. So we've got some really cool guests up ahead for you. Really kind of proud to have these guys. I think they have wonderful and interesting stories to tell all of us. Here's two guys that are veterans, serve their country, and serve their country well. So my hat's off to them for their service, and as I think all of you would agree. But now they serve us in a different way, and they serve country music and the music world with their songs, with lyrics, great arrangements, and now let me tell you what, I've seen them live with some kick-ass music. So without further ado, I want to introduce the War Hippies.
What's up, brother?
Hey, good evening, guys. So, got to tell everybody, obviously we tried this before. You guys were on the road. I mean, you were on a kind of an epic trek, and I think when we tried to do it, you guys were on your way to Montana.
Yeah, we were Montana from way of Galveston, Texas.
Yeah, that's a bit of a road trip now, isn't it?
A little bit, yeah.
So I think it perfectly illustrates. I mean, you guys are so committed to your music. There you are. You're out on the road. You're trying to do an interview. It just shows that constantly you're confronted with difficulties out there, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I mean it's no different than stepping off on a patrol. As soon as you do, Murphy's out there with you, and everything that can go wrong will go wrong. So just expect the worst.
All right, exactly. So now it looks like we have a little bit different environment now. So you guys are in your studio right now?
Yes.
Yeah, this is Donnie's studio in Nashville. Where magic happens with the music.
So Donnie, you've been doing that for a while. We'll circle back around to all of that and everything. But I want to start out. I mean, I want to talk to everybody. I want them to kind of learn where you guys are from. Kind of get some background on you. So, Scooter, where were you raised at?
I was raised in Colorado. Born in Nebraska. Wasn't there very long. We moved around a little bit, but I basically grew up in Colorado, joined the Marine Corps, and then ended up in Texas, and now I've been in Nashville for about 6, almost 7 years.
Okay. And even in that 6 or 7 years, it's grown a lot, hasn't
it? It's crazy. I'm glad I bought my house when I did.
Yeah, I bet. So now, Donnie, you're from, where are you from originally?
I'm born and raised in Cincinnati, Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good old Skyline chili and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, La Rosa's Pizza.
Yep.
You come in the studio, there's all types of Reds paraphernalia all over the place.
I love going down Montgomery, and I'm hoping to get a trip down there because I haven't had any of those ribs in a while. So that's anybody goes to Cincinnati, they need to go there, right?
Yeah, it is 100%. The cool thing is about Nashville is that you can get Montgomery and barbecue sauce and Skyline chili at Kroger. So
can you really?
Yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah. Now there was where Cincinnati Moeller High School, there used to be a big, real popular pizza place. They came out pizzas. They were like this. They were huge. I don't know if it's still there. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I haven't really spent any time back there in so long. I wouldn't even know.
Okay. Yeah, I was just kind of curious about that. Now you went. I mean, so you grew up in Cincinnati. You went to school, college, to study music in Miami University, Big Ben School, huh?
Yeah. I actually went to school with Ben. We had he's a year behind me. So he was a freshman when I was a sophomore.
Okay.
So he might be 2 years behind me. I can't remember. But I definitely was on the field and watched him throw his very first pass in the NCAA.
Oh, that's very cool. That's very cool. And now, I talk about where, you went on for college and further your education there, but you were playing when you were 10 years old. Is that correct?
Yeah. I've been playing, yes, as long as I can remember.
So how did you end up coming to that? Know that, the violin and playing music was going to be, something that you loved?
Well, I was, always like any boy, grew up playing sports. I was really good at baseball, and we were in the Little League at that time. But they used to bring the orchestra program by our elementary school, and so the first time I saw it come through, they brought it into the gymnasium when I was in the 4th grade. I was 9, and I went to my dad and I begged him if I could play the violin, and he said no. And so they came back again. They came back again on in my 5th grade year, and I begged him again. And this time he said yeah. And he said, "Just give me your words, you'll learn how to play it." And I took that thing to the bathroom with me until I got a scholarship to college. I mean, I'll never forget like opening the case and remembering what it smelled like, and just being like intoxicated by it. And I just could, I was drawn to it. That's really what it was.
And how, now that your dad looks back at that, what's he say about all that and your accomplishments?
Oh, he's super proud. I mean, he still busts my chops. I mean, I could be winning a Grammy, and he'd be asking when I'm gonna come home and cut the grass. I mean, he's just, he's a Midwestern blue collar man. He don't give.
I love it.
He's super.
And then so now, Scooter, how about you? I mean, living in Colorado, you said you've been around a little bit, being from Colorado and everything. How did you get into music yourself?
So I always have been drawn to music, just listening wise. I've always been a big lyrical person, like really listening to what the music is saying to me. And I actually started off by doing like writing Western poetry. And I was on my high school rodeo team. I was a rough stock rider, not a very good one. I just enjoyed it. And I started writing poetry, and it kind of turned into song, but I'd never played an instrument before. And actually, when I joined the Marine Corps, I still had never played an instrument before. And I was probably like 19 years old, and there was a guy that just come to my unit, and he had a cowboy hat on, and he was carrying a guitar case. And so I just started talking to him, and he became one of my best friends throughout the Marine Corps. But he showed me a few chords, and kind of the same thing. I was so drawn to it that I would like literally take it to the bathroom with me. I'd get up before Reveille and play for 20, 30 minutes, go eat chow, and then get back and play before formation in the Marine Corps. And I literally had it everywhere I went. And my goal in the Marine Corps was I wanted to do 20 years and retire, but really I fell in love with music, and I ended up getting out because of that. But yeah, I didn't learn until later. 19, 20 years old is really when I started picking it up. Okay.
So that's pretty cool. I love hearing the stories on how, I know when I was in the service, you hear other people that, you find your direction, you find your calling, and sometimes it's completely unexpected. So that's really cool. So tell us about, I know you did tour overseas and some other things. So tell us about what you did in the service, how you served our country.
Well, for myself, I was a scout with Light Armored Reconnaissance Battalion, 1st Marines out of Pendleton. And I did a West Platte deployment to the Middle East in 2001. And then I was in the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Shortly after getting back from Iraq is when I ended up getting out. And then Donnie can tell his.
Yeah. Well, I was in a 216th Engineer Battalion with the 1st Infantry Division, and I served in Iraq 2004, 2005.
Okay. And so now you both did your time there, and then what was the plan afterwards? I mean, so Donnie, after you got done serving, what was the plan, and what was the direction you took then?
Well, it took me a second, because obviously, giving up a scholarship and going into the Army to do that. But obviously, I've kind of refound my passion for music when I was overseas. And honestly, I spent most of my time overseas playing guitar when I had a chance. So I kind of picked that up and learned how to do that. But got back and took like a little hiatus, chilled for a minute, and then actually got in and started, believe it or not, started doing the lead and worship thing at my wife's church. And then from there, I got into a black gospel band called Champion. And we toured from 2007 to 2011 and produced a record. We were driving around in the Champagne Bullet. That's what we called it. It was a 2000 Chrysler minivan, from Ohio to New York. And we ended up with that particular project ended up with 2 number ones on 3 number one records, which was pretty cool. And that was kind of how I got back into it, and then transitioned from that into some other stuff, and then into big country, and now into this.
Right. And I mean, and so you both have had some major accomplishments along the way. And then, Scooter, I mean, you were actually on television competing for a while, and I think you made some connections there. So tell folks about that and how that worked out.
Yeah, I got pitched to do this show called Real Country on the USA Network, and originally it was supposed to be like a songwriter thing. I hadn't really been a big fan of like the competition singing shows, but so because this was more based off of the songwriting aspect, I was like, all right, yeah, I'm down. Well, then it slowly turned into not being about that at all, and it turned into another singing competition show. And I almost didn't do it, but I had met Travis Tritt through Charlie Daniels. Charlie Daniels was my mentor, and I told Travis, I was like, man, I'm just not feeling this the way the show is for me. And Travis looked at me and goes, man, in one night, you're going to get in front of more people than you have in the last 3 to 5 years combined. He's like, so just go out there, have fun, and stop worrying about what other people think. And I was like, all right, cool. So went to the show, and it really, one of the best things I could have done at the time, because it just launched Scooter Brown Band into another level. And then maintaining that relationship with Travis has been amazing too, and his family. So yeah, I didn't win, but it was a great experience.
Sure. Well, and then, ultimately, when you really think about it, I guess you did win.
Oh,
So you got good exposure, you made connections, lasting connections. So that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And Donnie, go back to you. I mean, you both have, but you've written a lot of great songs, and you've really made your impact there. So tell us about some of that. You talk about some of the number ones you guys you had early on with other people and stuff like that, but who have you written for, and tell us about some of those songs?
Well, it was, I mean, really the coolest accomplishments, I think, were the gospel accomplishments, honestly, because it was so outside of the box. But I've written songs for, a cappella groups like Home Free, written with all types of people all over town. And Scott's actually had more success in the country world than I have. I think. What was your first big one?
I've had a lot of cuts, but one of the first Cody Johnson cuts that he had, him and I co-wrote, and then my first number one was with Josh Ward, and then I've had cuts, and then a lot of the Scooter Brown stuff is all I either wrote it myself or co-wrote it, and then we might do one cover an album on that stuff, but I just kind of like telling my own story. I look at it like this: I write for myself and hope that other people like it. If they do, great. I'm not writing really for anybody per se.
Okay, so I think that's the way it should be, because then it's coming from your heart, and then if it makes that connection, then it's special.
Absolutely.
And that's a wonderful thing. Now, talk about co-writing stuff. You co-wrote something with Chris Kyle, right?
Yeah. So Chris was a friend of mine. We were actually in a bar up in Colorado after a Basecamp 40 elk hunt that Chris was involved in. It's an organization that I helped co-found called Basecamp 40 Warriors in the Wild. It's a 501c3 nonprofit, and we were hanging out after the hunt, and this guy that was the owner of the bar kept trying to sell me and Chris the bar. He thought that we were a couple of big shots and didn't realize that we were just trying to pay our bills every month like everybody else, and so we were going back and forth, being a jarhead and a squid. We were saying some pretty dumb stuff to each other, like, oh, we should call it. I don't know what kind of podcast this is. But anyway, then Chris got quiet and he goes, man, we should call it Valor, to pay homage to our brothers and sisters that served and and fought with valor. He said, because no matter if you got a medal for it or not, we all fought with valor. And it just stuck with me. And at the time I was living in Texas, and Chris lived in Texas. And so we got back, and I hit him up and I said, man, I'm kind of stuck on this idea of doing a song called Valor, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. So, just throw me some one-liners, because I'm going to take that and I'll write this song based around some of those things. And so he did. And I got about 2/3 of the way through working it up. And I got to play for him once that what I'd had. And he was murdered shortly after that. And so then his wife, Taya, asked me to sing at the funeral. And I finished the song the week of and sang it at his funeral. And so that ended up being the title track of the album that I put out back in 2013.
Wow. Thank you for that. I mean, that's amazing. What a story. Yeah, and that's true. Valor is something that, I think your brothers in arms understand. Sometimes, the public doesn't understand, what that means to serve with valor and serve with honor. And you guys both did. I want to go back and I want to talk about something else and kind of go back to your family a little. You've been involved with some interesting things. So you and Andy Lang recently went in and you brought some orphans out of the Ukraine, and you have a special connection to one of those orphans. So and the wonderful thing I love about this is that it's not just you. It's both of you, because Donnie was back here doing amazing things. So I love for both of you to tell us about that story and let people know about it.
Yeah. So I'll tell you straight out the bat. It was kind of weird because after we got back, there was so much attention to it, and we weren't. It's hard to say, like, when you're doing this as a living, you don't really think about the fact that somebody wants to know the story of it afterwards because you're in the music or entertainment business or something. Like, this was a completely 100% selfish act that I didn't realize that people were going to be really paying attention to like they did. And the reason being, like, I've got 4 kids. My 2 oldest are biological, and then I have 2 younger ones that are adopted, 8, 10, 13, and 15. And then we hosted a little boy from Ukraine over Christmas, and we've done hosting a lot with my family from all over the world, and we weren't in the idea of doing it as adoption. Like, we were very much hosting. We're kind of done with adoption stuff. My wife and I are kind of like ready to have some time to ourselves, and get the kids on out. But this little dude just like tugged at our heart, my whole family, and he just fit right in. And so we kind of started thinking that we'd adopt. And in the meantime, things are starting to ramp up with Russia and Ukraine. And so we were getting a hold of the people in Ukraine saying, hey, like, why don't we just, instead of sending them back right now, why don't we just hold them for a few more weeks and just see what happens? And basically the way that Ukraine came back was like, Russia does this all the time. Nothing's going to happen. So send the kids back. And we did. And obviously it wasn't but 4 weeks after we sent them back that it looked like the intelligence that we were getting from friends and people that were working over there were like, yeah, this is going to happen. So Andy Lang, I'm talking to him about it, and he's a great friend of ours, and he was like, well, why don't we just go get him? And I was like, okay.
Now, I got to interrupt real quick because, Andy said that you said you got a hold of him and said, let's go get him. So, I've got 2 conflicting stories here, but ultimately the end result was perfect.
It happened one of those ways. I don't know. But yes, we bought plane tickets for the next day to Warsaw, Poland, and basically set up a war room over there. Donnie, honestly, not by choice. It was just that it was such a spontaneous thing. And he found out that he's like, hey guys, like, what the hell, man, I want to go too. And so, but he ended up staying back and securing a very large sum of money to help fund this mission and help get kids out. And so eventually, long story short, we ended up helping get an entire orphanage out of Ukraine, and then also a mother with her 2 kids and her older parents that were actually in Kyiv. The orphanage is about 3.5 hours south of Kyiv on the river, pushing down into the Black Sea. And it was a great experience, when we got them over into Poland and bought the entire orphanage McDonald's, and it was the first time that most of them ever had McDonald's.
Sure.
And, first time they'd had a hot meal in 3 days traveling across the country. So it was a great experience, and hopefully these kids get to go back to Ukraine soon. We can't do anything with our adoption until he's back in Ukraine, period. So we're really hoping for an opportunity for that to open up.
Sure. So Donnie, I mean, I know the story, I'm so ready, but you raised a large sum of money, and when we talked before about it, you kind of you mentioned how it was, but you got to tell folks how that one worked out. That's kind of fun.
Well, so we're communicating with each other back and forth, and I'm just like, we're going, just keep play by play, kind of staying in the loop of what's happening. I'm like, just always on standby. What do you need? What can I do? Who can I call? And they're like, we need money. And I said, okay, I can do that. And so I went over to one of the most predominant business owners in Nashville, Steve Smith, who owns Kid Rock's Honky Tonk and Tootsie's and a bunch of other things. And we were sitting down at the bar over this country club, and just talking, and said, I just briefed him on what was going on, and he asked what it was. I gave him a breakdown, and he cut a check. Didn't ask any questions.
Wow, that's wonderful. I love people who maybe they have affluence, but they're willing to do right by others and stuff like that. And look at all the lives. So how many people total then did we get out of there?
Total, we're looking at like 54. I think it was 54, 55, and that was including the people out in Kyiv. Okay. She had actually all of the paperwork and all of the passports for all the kids in the orphanage, and they keep those separated so that way, from what I understand, is like they keep those in a completely different place so that way that there's no kind of like anything going on to where these kids can their paperwork and they just disappear into the night kind of thing. Like, so we had to have all their paperwork, or there are going to be a bunch of orphans in Poland, eventually Lithuania, that have no ID and nobody can verify anything from any of them. So it was really important to get her and all that stuff out. But yeah, it was awesome. We're definitely looking on going back and following up on some stuff. We've kind of helped facilitate the building of orphanages in Western Ukraine, so that way these kids, because what I saw over there was basically like these kids were kind of almost being legally trafficked, where I feel like some of the countries kind of like annexed them in, and they don't have anybody to give them back to yet. And so they're going into the foster systems and then they're losing orphanages. Like the caretakers of some of these orphanages are losing their kids because now, these countries don't have to give them back to them for any reason, really. So they're trying to get that fixed. But one of the ideas that I had was, why don't we build orphanages and safe houses in Western Ukraine? That way they can stay there. They have their sovereignty. And, a lot of these kids are teenagers, and they don't want to leave. They feel like they're leaving their countrymen behind. in the middle of a fight. And so it still makes them feel like proud of what they're doing and being Ukrainian and fighting against Russia. But it also helps of keeping track of where all these kids are at and where they're going.
Makes a lot of sense, because I know I have some friends, special forces guys, stuff like that are over there actually doing stuff where, the child trafficking, human trafficking is going on. And there's a lot of it. And right now in the chaos, I mean, that has created a hotbed and opportunity for these people. And so what you're doing, you're doing even not only just, saving kids, getting them out of the country, but you're giving them a place where they've got a safe landing and they can be secure. So how do people help with all this?
There's 3 organizations that we've been working with. One being New Horizons for Children, Aerial Recovery Group, and Operation Lightshine. Those were the 3 ones that help facilitate what we have going on. Aerial Recovery right now and New Horizons for Children are collabed right now on helping to do the orphanages. And I believe that Operation Lightshine is still conducting rescue missions as well. So those are 3 organizations that I'm putting in the hat.
Okay. So now if there's folks on here that are watching it, maybe they can contribute monetarily, but if they can't, is there other ways they can maybe contribute and help?
I mean, if you're the praying type, that's always great. And I think that some of them, I mean, if you've done any kind of work like that, military or operator, and I mean, I know that they're probably looking for people to help facilitate stuff over there as well. So that's something that you might be able to donate some time by going over there for a couple weeks at a time and just helping out. I'm sure that that's definitely needed.
Yeah.
Well, nothing beats boots on the ground, that's for sure. And that firsthand from having done it. So you guys, I want to go back to something we talked about. You guys are in studio there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Donnie, tell people. I mean, because here you are. You've been a touring musician. You played with different people. Okay. Now there's the 2 of you that started the War Hippies, but you're also producing music and you've got the studio. Tell everybody about that and the work you're doing there.
Well, I started producing in around 2007 or so. I had my first mentor, a guy named Paul Jones. He was formerly the music supervisor at Home and Garden Television out of Knoxville, Tennessee, which is where all your HGTV and all that, HGTV, all your Discovery Channel, all that type of stuff. A lot of that comes out of there.
Yep.
So he taught me how to build my first kind of MIDI studio at the house. Had an iMac and a piano and 2 speakers, and I didn't even know how to plug a microphone in. And did that, and just did a bunch of background music for stuff. And it's really funny. The very first thing I ever got on TV, I did a rendition of Dixie on a show called You Don't Know Dixie, and Charlie Daniels was narrating it. And
That's awesome.
So that's the first thing I ever got on the TV. But then did a bunch of that stuff, and then I kind of evolved over the years as as my career advanced and developed, and I got to work, and I started to work with higher levels of talent and touring, and so I built a studio at the house. The studio at the house, evolved into my first project studio. So I got my first kind of console control surface and it's my mic pre's, and I was actually recording drums and stuff, and it was fun. And then I was wrapping up touring with the Front Men of Country. We had just finished the Make America Great Again ceremony, and one of my friends had asked if we were back in Nashville, and he said, "Will you come look at this building for me?" He was building a chiropractic office. He said, "But there's this other space in back, and I don't know what to do with it." And I said, "Well, I'll take it." And so I partnered with the guy who owns the building. John Blackwell is fantastic, real estate developer and OG here in town. And we came up with an idea, and I general contracted it, and I was able to build my dream studio in Nashville. And yeah, I mean, and it's fantastic. So I work out of here full time. This is where Scott and I produce everything. We've got an arsenal of players, a lot of different artists, all different types of genres, and this is what it is. It's a lot of fun.
It sure is, and it looks like an awesome studio and stuff. And maybe sometime we're in Nashville, you guys can show us around.
Yeah, of course.
So, Scooter, you've had a lot of accolades, a lot of praise and everything, from Rolling Stone to being named Music Artist of the Year in Colorado and everything. Music wise, I'm just kind of curious. A lot of great accomplishments. What are you the proudest of?
I would say that honestly, the accolades are awesome when they come in, but that's not what fills my cup. I think I'm most proud of it that I've been able to do and keep doing this as my full-time job since 2009. That I've been able to push through. I mean, the music business is tough, and to be able to do this for, 12 years as my full-time gig, to be able to help raise a family. My wife and I've been together for 17 years and 4 kids. And that's what I'm most proud of, is I get to do what I love. I get to call the shots. I get to be on my time. And
unless he's waiting around on me,
I'm
always late.
Unless I'm waiting on this guy, because he ain't punctual, I'll tell you that. But yeah, I mean, I've gotten a handful of awards in different seasons in different places, and I'm so grateful for them. But yeah, that's what I'm just proud that you always get this, when you're not at the level of selling out a stadium, you're not at a Garth Brooks level or something. That's what people really see as success in music. And we'll always get asked, so when are you going to make it? And I'm like, I've got 6 albums out, about to be 7.
Yeah.
With, I don't know, 10, 12, 13 singles besides those. I'm like, I've got a wife and 4 kids that have been able to, I've made it.
Yeah.
I'm just going to make it bigger.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep growing it, but I've made it, and so is Donnie. We get to do what we love.
So I would ask Donnie, I'd ask the same question of you. Is there anything that stands out in your career that you're the most proud of?
It's hard saying, because I'm proud of all of it. It was really, really, really cool standing on the Lincoln Memorial, with the front man, singing "God Bless You USA" with Lee Greenwood in the front man. That was fun. Probably. And then I thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever done until, I started working with him, and Charlie's manager, David Corlew, comes in, and we're sitting in the studio, and he's like, "Hey, we're getting ready to do the Volunteer Jam," which is Charlie's big, thing every year's birthday thing at Bridgestone Arena. And he's like, "Do you want to play the Devil Went Down to Georgia, and the South's going to do it again?" And I'm like, it's a one-legged duck swimming little tiny circles. Of course I do. But that's probably that's definitely been one of the pinnacles. But I'm honestly really excited about right now. I haven't been excited about a project. As a producer, you're really a coach. So I spend most of my time coaching. So I get excited when something works for an artist. But I was kind of retired from that. And so, when Scott and I started doing this, and I told him the other day, I said, "Man, I've listened to this album 15 times. And I keep trying to not like it." You know what I mean? Because I'm trying to find something wrong with it. And I tell you, this is kind of breathed a new level of excitement back into, I think, both of our careers. And it's the shape that it's taking and the moves that it's making at the speed that it's taken off, is really something special. And I'm excited to see what happens.
That's wonderful. So I gotta ask another question, and I'm gonna tell you a bit of a story to kind of explain why I asked this. So my cousin just she's got a new album coming out. She's got a single. She just did a little preview concert in Cleveland, Ohio rooftop, but she was the voice of Care Bears for the cartoon, and you can go get Care Bear, and it's her voice. It's Kayla's voice. It's really cool.
That's
Right?
awesome.
So my grandkids walk around and they have these the Care Bears, and it's really surreal. But she's not. It's always a little awkward for her. So is there anything you guys have done in your career that you look back on? Maybe you did a track for something or whatever, and you're like, yeah, I'm not sure. That's a little weird.
For me, it's every album that I've ever done.
Okay.
After I'm done with it, and a year or two goes by, and I go and listen to something, I'm like, starting with the very first one to the very last one, because I've never cut anything that I didn't believe in at the time. And as far as a record, like a record is a record of the time and place that you were at when you recorded it. And so you're always, as a creator, as somebody that's like a brain works as somebody that's seeking something different, or to build something different, or to create something different, you look back on old projects and be like, oh, I wish I could just go back and redo that, or redo this one, or redo that. But I haven't done anything, in my opinion, that I think is like cringeworthy or anything, as far as that's concerned. Yeah.
That's funny he says that, because that's I think that's the way everybody feels. You look back I look back at things that I thought I was absolutely killing. I mean, I thought I was just the best. I'm like, why am I not getting Grammys for this? And I listened back, and I'm like, because it sucked.
Because it was really bad.
But at the time, you're just not, you're not mature enough to understand. It's like a little league. In a little league baseball player's head, he's playing in the majors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that. It's the natural growth. But I will say, I did a couple things with one of my artists I was producing, and she was out in New York. She was on The Voice. Worked with several people off The Voice, and she used to do a lot of voiceovers in New York City. That's where she's from. She's from Long Island, and so she did a lot of the Maybe It's Maybelline. She did all those.
Right.
That's her singing that. Wonderfully talented, but she would every once in a while bring me these jingles, and she brought me one, and it was cringeworthy. I think it was called, because it was based off that song, because it's all about that bass, no treble, and it was literally a song that said, because it's all about them spanks, and I was like, what is this? And then there was like a Christmas jingle making fun of Bill Cosby about it's just like some brutal. So I've done some kind of advertising work that's been a little brutal in the past, for sure.
Well, and it all pays the bills, and it does exactly what you guys want. Allows you to be in your profession. You're not doing secondary jobs. You're not doing all this other stuff. You're able to focus your effort on what you love.
Yes.
So now, so here this year, you guys formed. You formed as the War Hippies, correct?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. And I'm going to go back to it in a moment, but you guys have a recent release, a song called The Hangman. So, I think we'd love to play that, and go ahead and play that for the audience here real quick.
Yeah, sure.
Let's do it.
All right. So guys, I brought up, the song. I wanted people to hear you, but I got to see you at the Tennessee Motorcycle Music Revival, and we had a really good time down there. Been down there, a few times. As a matter of fact, the company I work for, we've got a shop that's there. We were there during the flood, and barely got out of that. But I've got to tell you, I saw you guys live, and you bring it. You absolutely bring it, both of you. I mean, it's a great show. It had. I think that show, there was a lot of good music. If anybody's never been to the revival, Tanya, Buck, and Carrie really, put on a great show there. But you guys, to me, you were the highlight of the show. So how did you guys get together? How did you end up forming as the War Hippies?
Well, it's funny at that show. I was because it's an acoustic guitar. For people that don't know, it's an acoustic guitar, violin, 2 vocals, and we have some percussion. So when you visually hear that or think about that, you're going, man, that sounds kind of soft. Like it sounds like, it's so that was the first time we'd done a motorcycle rally, and I was a little nervous because I was like, man, are they gonna dig this? Like, or do they want freaking screaming guitars, And after we got done, I said, Donnie, well, what'd you think? He goes, we just played ballads with a guitar and a violin in front of a bunch of motorcycle riders, and they loved it. And I was like, all right, it worked. It worked.
They were singing along. Like, it just was,
Yeah.
it's really cool.
But so the War Hippies thing, so Donnie had invited me to his studio. I had posted something on Instagram about supporting veteran-owned businesses, and we'd met before, but we didn't know each other. And he sent me a message just saying, "Hey, I'm a combat veteran. I own the studio. Come check it out." So I was like, "Heck yeah, let's do it." And we just started hanging and hanging out. And this is kind of during COVID, and so we weren't touring. He wasn't doing a whole lot of producing, and I think that all of us were going stir crazy because we were being stifled in like our being able to be creative. And so I came to him and I said, I've got this idea, and I know that this term's been around for a while, but it kind of hit me. I was doing a interview for People magazine, and when they asked me like, well, how do you describe yourself? I said, I don't know. I'm kind of like a war hippie, and I don't really know where I'm from. And she was like, well, what is a war hippie? And I was like, I don't know. Like I'm all about peace and love, and I'm a big into like meditation and grounding and natural remedy. I was like, but if somebody tries to take that peace away from me, I'll stick an axe in their face. And she was like, okay, well then I didn't really think anything of it. But when the article came out, it said self-proclaimed war hippie Scooter Brown. And I saw it and I was like, man, there's something about that just like pops. So I came to Donnie and was like, man, I got this idea. I think it'd be really cool to do it as a duo. We're both combat vets. We both bring something completely different to the table. And I think that it could work. And we kind of just threw it up in the air and been taking off like a bat out of hell since.
Yeah, I mean it's been wonderful. I've been telling a lot of people, and when we actually did a wrap-up video from TMMR, and there was actually a couple of people jumped on there that didn't even make it down there for that, and was commenting, "Oh my gosh, the War Hippies were there. I wish I could have seen them. I'd love to see them." So you're definitely building a strong fan base out there. So Don, you're actually on the board, aren't you, Donnie, for the revival?
Yeah, I've been on the board. Since the second year. So I did. I think 2 years. I did a little thing called the Chopper Jam. We did that, and then I took a year off. Just kind of ran around and played with everybody, or I might have done a show with somebody else. I don't know. Jumped up with Tim Montana or something. But yeah, I've been on the board. I work with. I've been just helping Carrie and Buck and gathering sponsors and making sure the festival goes on and facilitating just the everything that needs to happen in Nashville and making it run. My wife Christy has been. My goodness, she's worked on it. I mean, far more than I ever have.
Okay.
I get to be the relationship guy. She's the details person.
Okay, that's awesome. So, and you both of you guys are involved in other organizations, and so Scooter, you kind of alluded earlier to the one organization you work with, but tell folks a little bit about that work you do outside of the music world.
Yeah, so I think Donnie and I both with War Hippies want to use that platform to try to aim towards veteran causes and veteran organizations. I co-founded an organization called Base Camp 40 Warriors in the Wild about 12 years ago. It's a 501c3 based out of Grand Junction, Colorado. And we started off with it was combat veterans, taking them on hunting and fishing trips, outdoor excursions. And then it turned into all veterans, not just combat. And then it's turned into Gold Star families. And now we're starting to kind of branch out to first responders as well. More or less, it's a thank you, but it's also, for me, I personally feel the most peace when I'm in the woods, when I'm on a river, when I'm on top of a mountain. And that's where I find like my soul to be recharged and healed. And it's kind of crazy how many guys and girls, like, you know, you go off to war, but they've never hunted before. Like,
Sure.
you know, and so especially with guys that are amputees or, you know, severely injured, to know that you can go on a mountain and harvest an animal that's going to provide you or your family with protein for, you know, the next 6 months. I mean, that's an awesome accomplishment to know that you can do it. So that's my main organization. That's the one that I've worked with for the longest. I also have done a lot of stuff with Lone Survivor Foundation, Chris Kyle Frog Foundation. Donnie's introduced me to like the SOTF and the special ops excursions that he's been working with for a long time on different stuff. So it's pretty cool to be able to use our platform to help.
You know, and that's when you talk about those things you guys are doing and bringing vets together. I mean, I don't know if you've ever heard, and this kind of, you know, unique because what you guys do, but there's an organization called Vet Ticks, which is pretty cool because I've gotten tickets for that. We just went and saw Chicago this week, and that was on them, good seats, and you're sitting with other veterans. And so, you know, between the bands or, you know, you get an opportunity to bond and meet people that are in your community you don't even realize they're there. Mm-hmm. And so any of these things, you know, people don't understand. When we leave the service, you know, we build a level of camaraderie with fellow soldiers. And then when you get out there in the world, you feel like you can't bond. So these things you guys are doing is absolutely phenomenal. I really, really appreciate that. It's just great work. So now I noticed, you know, you guys are getting ready. You guys are always touring, but you're going to be out there touring on the Can't Miss tour. Isn't that correct?
Yep.
So tell us about that tour.
It's the Can't Miss tour with Chris Jansen and Travis Tritt. Starts in October and it runs through November. It's honestly, it was we were a little surprised when we got it because, you know, a tour like that with you know, with that much prestige and that size, and at the time we got the notification that we had gotten the tour, we hadn't even released a single yet. And so, okay. Man, these guys are really rolling the dice on us.
They're like, what are you guys doing over there, man? Like, you guys got this really huge tour and you don't even have a song out. You got like 1,000 followers on Instagram. Like, what is happening over here? And I'm like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
But we ain't gonna turn it down.
Well, he said, you know, and obviously, you know, Scott has a real good relationship with Travis, but and he told me, he said, you know, in our agent Steve Lassiter, you know, and Scott said that he, you know, Steve had been, you know, we've been working on the music, so we have plenty of things that were in mix and on the way to master and stuff like that. So we did have plenty of things to listen to, and Travis, you know, told Scott, he said, you know, I like what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing over there. He did, you know, I'd like to think that we got it on merit and not on, you know, anything else.
Yeah, Travis wouldn't. I mean, it doesn't matter how, if he likes you to the moon and back. Like, he's not going to put you on if he doesn't, on his tour, if he doesn't think that the music is good enough to be on his tour. And so it's definitely a compliment that we are on it, to be, no matter when we put out music. Just the fact that we were handpicked to be on the tour is pretty awesome. And we're going to get in front of a lot of people in a short amount of time that we would have not been able to get in front of. And the thing about War Hippies is, like, you can hear the music and it's different than anything really that's out there. But we are a visual, like once you see it, that's when you really just like, okay, I get these guys. I get what they're doing. And that's what's really pushing us, I think, to that next level.
And that's absolutely true. That is absolutely true, because I've witnessed that. And you guys, you know, what a wonderful show you guys put on. I'm actually going to be out at Sturgis, and Travis is going to be playing at the Buffalo Chip. So looking forward to seeing him out there, and should be a wonderful show. And
We're out there too. You should.
boy, where are you guys at?
We're playing. We're doing. So one of my really good friends, Pat Patterson, owns Let's Let Custom.
Yeah.
I actually bought the remember the progressive bike that he had for years, been on the cover of
Yes.
that normally sits in the front of my studio. It's on tour with him right now.
Okay.
But he's doing a Sportster show. They used to do Big Kenny's pool party in Deadwood,
Yes.
Outlaw Square, and this year it's Harley Davidson with the Sportster show with Let's Led and War Hippies and Friends. So we've got our own event on November 10th or no August
12th.
August 12th or no, is it 12th?
10th.
10th. I think we'll let you know.
We'll get together on that, because we've got some people out. We're going to be getting some different footage out there and stuff. I'd love to come out and see you guys. So
yeah,
we'll definitely come out for that. And then, you know, any other big plans outside of the tours and everything else you guys got going on?
I think that for right now, you know, we're just getting this album squared away. We just got the what would it be called?
What do you mean?
For the vinyls.
Oh, we got the test
vinyls.
Our my wife, and who helps with management with us, she's literally on her way over to the vinyl lab to pick up our test vinyls so we can listen to the vinyls that are going into print in October.
That's very cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, we have a vinyl album that's coming out that's actually going to be, it's the way that it was produced is actually going to be a little bit different than the actual digital CD that comes out. So it'll be completely different cover. The songs even have some different instrumentation on them. And then on top of it, then we're also putting out the CD and the digital aspect that'll go on to all your streaming and platforms. So we're finishing up all that process and then getting that ready for the tour. And then the tour, you know, is taking up 2 full months, which will take us into the kind of the Christmas break. And I think we're just kind of looking forward to taking a little bit of a breather and really getting our game plan together for 2023 to just come out, you know, kicking the doors open and coming out swinging and just putting out tons of new music, tons of new video content. And we're going to throw the book at them.
Looking forward to it. And so for anybody that's on here, I know your webpage, you can buy gear, you can see tour dates, everything else. So tell folks where to find that at.
Website is warhippies.com. And then we're on, you know, Instagram, Facebook, Truth, TikTok, all that stuff. We're on there. And obviously, if you do Spotify or Apple, we have 2 releases out now. The next one's coming out at the end of August, and then the albums will be coming shortly after that. So just keeping track of us.
Awesome. That's wonderful. So, guys, we end each show with asking our guest 3 questions. So we're gonna go 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. All right. So you guys ready for these questions?
Sure.
All right. So Scooter, we'll start with you. First question is, do you own any bike? No, I take this back. I'm out of order. If you could go ride with anybody, past or present, who would you like to go ride with?
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's a hard one. My initial one was like, I'd love to like ride with Jesus and be like, yo, can you tell me some really cool stuff?
Yeah.
And then another one, all mine are passed. I'd like to ride with Genghis Khan.
That's cool.
That'd be cool.
That's very, very interesting. I like that. So Donnie, how about you? You've had time to think about this now, so you gotta up him up on a good answer.
This is yeah. Well, I don't know how you top Jesus.
Go ride with Jesus.
I'll go ride with the Jesus Cristo. I think it would be fun to probably ride with Elvis.
That'd be cool.
Maybe him and Johnny Cash at the same time, and that whole pack of guys, Jerry Lee Lewis, all of them, just kind of the whole. I got an answer. The whole cast of all seasons of Tales from the Tour Bus.
Very cool. I like all of those. Absolutely love all those. So, all right, next question. We'll start with you, Donnie. I mean, if you could own any bike, could be in your possession. What would you like to own?
That's hard saying. Any bike. I don't like a really old shovel head, or I mean, I don't know. It's it's hard saying. I mean, I've had so many bikes over the years. Honestly, what I really wish I could own is the bike my dad sold. He had an electric glide that he sold, and I really wanted to keep it in the family. But so it's hard telling. I've always had my eye on that lead sled bike that Pat had, so I got my hands on it. So
that's pretty rare.
Yeah. And they built some nice bikes, and they bring out some beautiful hardware. That's for sure.
Oh yeah.
So, how about you, Scooter?
So this is a 2 answer for me, because I would like to do something that is completely that hasn't a bike that hasn't been built yet. That's that I had a part of creating, and there's not another one on it like it on the planet. Like that, I want something that's completely and utterly different. With that being said, I'm also an Indian guy, and so any of the old school vintage chieftains, I just love those bikes. Something in that era. I think that I would like to own one day.
Very cool. Very cool. And then the last question is, and we'll start with you again on this, Scooter, is if you could go ride anywhere in the world, where would you like to go ride?
Oh, man.
I'm looking at Donnie. He's thinking about his answer already.
Yeah, I mean, we've gotten a ride all over this country. I mean, I'm a mountain guy, so I think that I'd like to go ride the Canadian Rockies maybe, or do a long ride up in Alaska. I need a trail vehicle just to be able to fuel it up, but
right,
maybe something like that. I just love the wide open spaces, and I love mountains. So I'm just to have that all around you in open air. And I've never been to the Canadian Rockies, so that's my choice.
I love that. First time we've had that, but that is actually a really good answer, and that's someplace I hadn't even really thought about. Someplace I'd like to go ride as well. So, cool. Donnie, how about you?
I don't. You know what where I've never ridden, I think would be completely awesome, would be to ride the entire Mediterranean, kind of along that shoreline, all of
Italy and Greece,
like Italy and Greece, go get in Naples and go up through up past Pompeii and ride on the Amalfi Coast and all that. I've never ridden over there.
Yeah, I was stationed in Vicenza, Italy for a while, and that riding Italy and the coast it's beautiful. Or going up into Lake Garda and Como, up in that area in the mountains, that's just gorgeous country up there. So that's a good answer. I love that answer. So, guys, I'm telling you what, when I appreciate you coming on here, but more than anything, I appreciate your music, and I appreciate the human beings that you are, because you guys are stand-up gentlemen, and I know I personally, want to see you guys achieve all the success that you're hoping to achieve. But I think you've achieved wonderful things already, and I appreciate you coming on and being a part of this. And I hope that we get to introduce you to some people who maybe haven't heard you guys before. So thank you for coming on.
Awesome.
Yeah, thanks for having us on your platform and helping us spread the word, man. We appreciate it greatly.
Thank you very much. All right, everybody, you have a good evening.
All right, do the same. Thank you.
All right.